This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Jambo, 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 everyone. Another lovely afternoon. Welcome to Masai Mara. This is the Mara Triangle, and my name is Isaac, and welcome to your live safari from the African wilderness. Jambo everyone, another lovely breezy afternoon. Welcome to Masai Mara, and I have my first animal of the day, Africa's largest bird, the Masai ostrich. It is just a wonderful, cool afternoon over here in the plains of Masai Mara. My name is Isaac, and on camera I have Bungei. Our mission is to try and retrace the Owinos. We found them this morning, and see what they are doing or what they are up to. This is close to the area I last saw them. Remember to talk to us on #WildEarth. Questions and comments are very, very welcome. Also, you can send in your kids' questions at wildearth.tv and at FC. You can also go to our website and send in your questions, and they will be sampled and they will be asked within ample time. Good afternoon, everyone. Such a beautiful time of day. I have a male ostrich and 2 females. This morning I saw him from a distance. He had 3 females, and I think looks like he has divorced one. Now he's got only 2. Yeah, they look, it seems to be very, very happy being out in the sun, because their feathers do take on a lot of water. They're quite thick and not well adapted to run off water like other flying birds. They are much more fluffier, so they take in water, they become soggy, thick, and also can be heavy for them. So they must be very happy now that now that they're dry. They're very, very happy. This is a very beautiful scene, and I have my other colleagues who want to introduce themselves, so let's take you to another live location.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to And Beyond Punda Private Game Reserve, where this afternoon we've picked up where we left off with those 3 cheetah, the mom and her 2 youngsters, who literally haven't moved a muscle, lying out in the middle of this dried up watering hole with a rhino on its way towards them, which is quite exciting. My name is Matt, and behind the camera this afternoon we've got Craig, and yeah, we've come out to see what those cheetah had been up to. We thought, being a cooler day today, that they might have moved off, but they are in exactly the same place. I think just with their full bellies from yesterday morning, no real need for them to venture anywhere or hide themselves in shade. But they've got the company now this afternoon of that white rhino, who I'm hoping for our sake walks up to them to see maybe just looking at the direction that the wind's blowing, it might just smell them and come and investigate. Rhinos don't have the best of eyesight, so rely quite heavily on their sense of smell and sense of hearing. And it's a little bit more protected down in the bottom in the dip of this watering hole. And you can see now it's lifted its head and it's walking with serious intent in the direction of those rhino, which is rather exciting. The youngsters, quite curious, might investigate that rhino a little bit more. But the mom knows better. I mean, 2.5 tons versus a fraction of that. Different story. So I'm definitely going to stick around here and see how this plays out.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Mara. Here we have some elephants, and this elephant is a return back to home. My name is Tim, and behind camera we have Big James. It's a little bit cool. In the afternoon it was very, very hot. So these elephants just come from Tswalu, and you can see most of them have a very dark body. I see the mothers with calves are walking fast, changing direction. I don't know what they decided, because they're all walking towards the road, and then all of a sudden they change course. So strictly, the matriarch has just said, okay, let's turn around and let's use another route to head back to where we normally go to. So I'll say these are about two separate families. You can see how well they've been divided, because they always come into a common grazing place for water and other, let's say, minerals. So whenever they finished whatever they were doing, they all head back to their respective places where they call eat a night. I can see that calf nursing there. Sometimes they're always nursing because of stress levels. Sometimes the moms will always see if maybe they're tired or some emotional changes, that the mothers will always nurse them just to comfort them. We've seen a baby boom this year, and we're happy that we have a big elephant population coming up, especially the calves. I would say about 25% of the elephants we always see here are calves. I'm going to hang around here watching these elephants as I take you over to another live location.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is the big Jackalberry Angari cut line where Tlalamba's kill is. So we're hoping to find her. She's not around at the moment, but it's very, very hot. Anyway, it's me, Trishal, and I've got Theo on camera with me this afternoon. And I say very, very hot. 37 degrees Celsius and 98 degrees Fahrenheit. So pretty warm. So she'll be in the best possible shade that she can find. And I mean, a lamb is pretty small, but I suppose she's still around because there's lots of meat on it. And we're going to show you the carcass now. So if you are sensitive, you might want to look away because it is a little impala lamb. But there's still a lot of meat on it. In fact, it hasn't been eaten very much at all. So she's somewhere in the shade, flat out. I have picked, I think, what is the best shade in the area at the moment, and that's why I expected her to be in the same sort of place as me. But no, so maybe she's moved off. She could have also abandoned it, but I doubt it, because there's still so much meat on it. A lamb would be eaten very quickly. And when we looked from the other side, it seemed that the stomach area, the contents and things were removed. Not much was eaten. Without sounding too gruesome, those thighs and those muscles and things like that, that's good meat. Funny? I thought I heard silly, but I'm not sure. You say it looks hardly touched. Absolutely. Hardly touched indeed. And that's the type of meat that she'd want. The rest of it's pretty scrawny. But with a dam close by, maybe she's hanging around in a cooler section there. But then she runs the risk of it being stolen by any other leopard. Or maybe our princess doesn't care too much. All the speculation, but actually I'm quite sure, just like any other leopard, she's nearby, under a bush, in a bit of shade. She would be so, so, so hot. I feel so sorry for animals in this type of weather, especially predators. All that fur, all that muscle on them, as well as the heat to have to contend with. Maybe it's because of the heat that she hasn't eaten so much. When animals eat, digestion creates more metabolic heat and can get them even feeling hotter. So maybe she just held off till the evening. Whatever it is, because obviously we're just guessing, whatever it is, we'll just have to wait and see. Renee, you say so impalas can climb trees? Certainly. I've seen many an impala up in a tree, many duikers up in a tree. A very, very special few of them can do it. Unfortunately, they're pretty lifeless at that point. It's like the typical guide joke to be like, oh, look, this impala climbed the tree. Maybe that should be a different category of jokes. Instead of dad jokes, it could be guide jokes. Like impalas being the McDonald's of the bush. We are going to just have a quick look around here under the bushes. There's a nice tambuti thicket nearby as well. And if I don't see any signs of her, I'm going to pop back on the road and check for tracks. But we're going to hang around in this general area and see where she pops up.
Welcome back, everybody. Have a look at this scene unfolding in front of us with the cheetah in the foreground and that big white rhino bull in the background. Not too fazed by the cheetah. Barely even batted an eyelid at them. He's had his head down the entire way past them. Might have smelt them because the wind is blowing from them to him, but not fazed by them this afternoon. Just happy to be out in these cooler conditions and to carry on grazing. You can see the cheetah sort of hunkered down quite close to one another there. Maybe this wind is a little bit more chilly this afternoon than it was earlier on. Trying to warm up or gather some strength to potentially move this evening. I don't think, they're still not that far from where they caught, I think it was an impala yesterday morning. So this evening, that's obviously starting to smell a little bit. That might attract the unwanted attention of things like a leopard that you didn't just see, but that hoisted that little impala lamb up into the tree. But the slut might move up. Directly sort of back to the right of them is the airstrip, which is also quite nice and open like this area, which they may eventually end up wandering off to. But for now, they every so often just pop their heads up, have a scan around, and then flop back down again, in and out of sleep. Kiara, you're asking if these animals can hurt us. Cheetah will typically run away from people because they are the most vulnerable of all the cats. If they can't risk getting injured, especially a mom like this, they're not going to pick a fight with us. They'll probably run away if we were on foot. Something like a white rhino, if it smells us, might come and investigate, but also is not going to stick around too long. But on the other hand, black rhino may be a little bit of a different story if you're on foot. But otherwise, if we're in the vehicle, they're quite happy to just carry on about their business, and for the most part, they're not even fazed by our presence. So some of them, yes, of course, but things like these cheetah will never look to do any harm to us. Looking at the one on the left now, lying flat, you can just see that long fluffy fur on the back of its neck. That must be one of the youngsters with its head flat down, and then mom you can see sitting upright. She doesn't have any of that fluff on the back of her neck, and experience shows here when mom just keeping an eye out for things like that rhino that you just saw passing by, because a white rhino that can weigh up to upwards of 2.5 tons can do some serious damage if it wanted to, if it was protecting its calf or just happened to stumble upon these cheetah. But that one that we saw now, not too fazed by them at all, just carried on back down through this little drainage line up towards another watering hole. It too looks like it's been on a mission, maybe because of that rain, going back and scent marking all its posts, and just gone to the watering hole to fill its tanks up.
From the cheetahs back to our elephants, who have even got close to the road. You can see how she's plucking the grass here. Pretty much enjoying this. It's soft, and I'm sure there's lots of moisture in this grass, so making it easier for these elephants. You can see how the two families are spread out. Really, yes, this is a breeding yard. You can see there's lots of calves in amongst the two herds. The first one and the second one, and then these are two young bulls that are at their adolescent stage. You can see bulls are always on the periphery. They always be at the back or on the sides of the herds, and then later on join the herd. So yes, this is a breeding herd. You can see a young calf there struggling to eat grass, and so struggling to use the trunk. Calves below the age of 2 years really find it tough to utilize their trunks, so most of the time you find that if it's grass, they'll actually kneel down and grab or bite grass using their teeth just directly with the mouth. But when they're about 2.5, almost 3, their trunks get that full utility, and they know how to use it. They're back on the move again. You can see the leader there walking slowly, and then the rest following. Some of these have crossed the Mara River, come from the Greater Mara Reserve, because there's a place called the Musiara Marsh where elephants love it there. We also have a small marsh here within the Mara Triangle, but at the Mara Game Reserve side, it's always big, and lots of elephants favor that place. Rosaline, how big are elephants? So elephant cows are about 3.5 tons. Bulls can weigh up to 4.5 tons to 5 tons. Calves after birth, they can weigh up to about 60 kilos. The calves that you see around here, some of them weigh about 100, 120. And the teenage bull that you can see, like that one there, that I would say weighs about 2.5 tons, 3 tons. So it varies from the size. Actually, bulls are actually more heavier than the cows. I'll try and get a little bit closer to where they are. It seems like they're getting closer to the road.
We have managed to find this girl in the craziest place. I think we would have never found her if we didn't happen to be looking at the right place at the right time. I just saw the silhouette of like a catty silhouette. And there she is. It's the worst spot of shade in this whole place. The absolute worst spot. The sun is now further towards the west, so the shadow is being cast on the eastern side of the drainage of the wall, and the big jackalberry. And she's just chosen, nope, I'm not going to sit in that big spot of shade. I'm going to find this very averagely sized guari bush, plonk myself down there, and hide from all the humans. She's actually not very close to the jackalberry either. If we show you, it's pretty, not too far, but maybe 100 meters from where she is now. And she's panting away as well. Danny, you'd like to know how often a leopard has to eat? At least, I'd say twice a week, in my experience. But technically, from papers that I've read about leopards and leopard diet, the average to maintain their condition, or maintain their survival, actually not their condition, is 20 kills per year. And that's very, very, very little. Here, where resources are abundant, we see our leopards making kills at least twice a week. Or rather, we know that the leopards make a kill at least twice a week. We might only see one of those. If we're lucky, we get to see both. But also, when we're talking about eating, depends. This impala lamb is just going to last her a day. Scrub hair, going to last her a day. If she finds an impala ram, not a lamb, then she'll be eating it steadily and properly for 2 days. Maybe a little bit on the third day, but then we're, stretching a little bit and she'll just get a lot of skin and other leftover bits. And then she'll be satiated for a day or two, and then she'll go out to hunt again. But they make lots of small kills as well, not just these big things. Squirrels, scrub hares. With this particular girl, she likes the occasional mongoose. She's eaten water thickness. I've seen her hunt water thickness. So all those little things count as well. And when that study spoke about the average of 20 kills per year for their survival, I'm assuming that they meant big kills, because 20 scrub hairs, no leopard is going to survive on. Okay, this is a very, very open, sunny patch at the moment, and Tlalamba is not going to move from her little spot of shade. So I think we're going to bumble around for a little bit and go to visit some water holes and come back here when it's a little bit cooler, which is not too long from now, maybe about 45 minutes. So we're going to head off and let her recuperate in her bit of shade.
Welcome back, everybody. And just talking about moving, these cheetah are now up, and it looks like the one on the left is starting to investigate something. And its sibling, I think, is getting a serious case of FOMO, a little bit of a stretch now that its other siblings up and going down to investigate what's going on there. And you can see the one on the left keeps looking down and repositioning. I'm trying to have a look through the binoculars as to what it's playing with. But you never know, something like a tortoise maybe, if that's their curiosity, got the better of these two this afternoon, and they've both gone down to investigate. I can't see exactly what it is, but both busy bodies looking down there, and they keep sort of repositioning around it, leaving and then going back. I wonder what exactly it is there, but my money is on something like a tortoise. If they keep moving or shifting in one direction, we'll know. I think that's exactly what it is. They started out a little bit further to the left, and they're slowly but surely creeping further to the right. Mom also now starting to do a little bit of grooming, which is promising, in the hopes that she'll get up and look to move. And maybe because it's so windy, these animals will, like Impala and Nyala, will be in the sheltered areas and the woodlands surrounding the fringes of this watering hole. So interesting to see what's going on here now.
So welcome back to where we just positioned to watch these elephants. Well, I can see there's a tiny calf there flapping those cute ears. I can see how continually that calf is flapping. Now these calves learn from watching whatever the rest of the family members are doing. If it's drinking, if it's grazing, flapping their ears, they always watch and then copy and paste whatever they've seen. I like the way they walk just closely and then close and getting closer to the vehicle as they keep on grazing. Very, very nice. Even though elephants are mixed feeders where they'll be grazing and browsing, they prefer this grass, but often go to the bushes to eat leaves and sometimes break down branches of trees during the dry season. See, that's a separate family with the matriarch with a very unusual form of tusks. You can see how they're separated between the two. as you watch these two families just getting closer towards us, let me take you over to another live location.
Well, it's been a phenomenally hot day here in the Lowveld on the edge of the Greater Kruger National Park. And as you can see, the animals have been taking full advantage of the waterhole here. And this is the first time I've seen the waterhole as quiet as it is right now. There's only this one elephant bull, and normally, well, the whole day there's been about 50 of them in here, so I'm sure the rest of the herd is going to start coming back soon. Hi everyone, I'm Mike, behind the camera is BK, and you joined us at Ecotraining's Pridelands Conservancy. And as I said, it's a very hot day. It's about 40 degrees, I think it was 39 degrees when I checked earlier, which is probably, actually it was 41, and that's probably about 115 degrees Fahrenheit or something like that, which is a pretty aggressive temperature. As you can see, there's elephants walking along the edge of the dam, and I'm almost certain that it's going to head into the middle part and have a good old swim. You can see its ears flapping vigorously there, trying to cool itself off. And you can really see, especially with the way the sun is right now, you can really see all the veins behind the ears there, which will pump the blood around that very thin tissue of the skin at the back of the ears and help to cool that elephant off, especially now that it's wet and covered in mud. There's a few other elephant bulls. What is this elephant doing with its trunk? It's doing a really strange thing. It was like blowing bubbles and reaching underneath the roots there. It's so odd. I wonder if there's something there which caught its attention. There's been so many elephants around. There's maybe the scent of another elephant was just there at the base of that tree. Not under the water, but maybe just see, like it's, every now and again it'll reach the water to its mouth, but not drink, just like it's tasting it. It's really doing a weird, for an elephant to drink. It's super full of silt from all the other animals that have been wallowing in it, and so it's basically like a soup. So mostly the elephants at the moment are just using it to coat their bodies in a fine layer of mud. But when it's calm like this, he might walk to the middle and just drink very tenderly right at the top of the water to cool down. You can see how shining it is, and you can see that sun is blistering down. We're sitting in the shade right now, and it's almost unbearably hot. But luckily there's a bit of a breeze just picking up now, which is going to cool us all down, including this elephant, who looks like he might actually scratch his bum. Yes, perfect. Don, yes. Pridelands has an incredibly high density of elephants. This is just one elephant bull, but the other day at the dam, I think we counted at least 60 elephants that were down at the waterhole at one time, or at least in a constant procession. Now, if that's just one waterhole, we've got two main waterholes here, plus a smaller one. So if we can average that out, there might have been over 100 elephants on Pridelands at that very moment, which is phenomenal, being that it's not a particularly huge area. But the fact that we've got these pretty much standing water holes that will have water the whole year round means that animals like elephants, who are very dependent on water, will be coming here frequently, and they know about it, and they'll communicate it. And remember, elephants have very long memories. So the matriarchs of herds, once they came back onto Pridelands about 3 years ago, rediscovered this water hole, and then they know from then on that this is a place that they must bring their families if they need water, especially in the winter. Right now, this summer, it's very hot, but at least it's been raining, and we're expecting more rain. So we might see, Don, over the next few days or weeks, as the rain starts to fall more frequently, the number of elephants coming to this particular waterhole might reduce, because they'll be able to find water pretty much all over the place. It seems now he wants to make that move into the deeper water, and I'm sure with all his splashing, he's probably also communicating in a way we can't hear, which will probably bring other elephants in sooner or later.
Welcome back, everybody, and beyond Pinda, where everybody's now up and at him. Mom now up on that mound with the two youngsters as well, and they've both set off in a direction that's out of picture for us. I might just have to shift a little bit further forward now. I'm still not 100% sure what they were investigating down there. I've kept glancing to that bare patch, but the only thing that I can imagine, because the youngsters were sort of clawing at it and playing with it, that it might have been something like a tortoise, especially if they were moving along with it. But for now, they're starting to move off behind this island here in this dried up watering hole. And there they set off in that direction. I'm going to shift slightly further forward just to see if we can't get them, or just can't see where exactly they're going, off to our left-hand side. And if I reposition slightly, we might now be able to see them a little bit better and see where they're going. Might just, they're the youngsters. They're chasing birds now. Well, that looked like a little bee eater. But those two have been quite active this afternoon. They'll flop themselves down, and then every so often the other will go up and instigate with the other one, get up and chase each other, and they'll tackle each other to the ground. Let's watch what happens here. Love that white tip of their tail. It sticks out from such a distance. Girl, you're asking what age these cheetah will begin to hunt. Even now, they'll try their luck with things like scrub hares, maybe some game birds. But this is the perfect time of year for them to catch smaller antelope, particularly impala lambs that have just dropped. A lot of impalas have started giving birth, maybe even something like a warthog piglet when they start emerging. But now, and they'll be fully independent at around 2 years old. But they are about a year shy of that, so they've still got some time to learn and grow from watching mom and how she goes about her business. But for now, just the experience of them chasing each other, tripping each other up, and tackling each other is really good for their confidence for one day when they are by themselves and have to provide for themselves. You see that youngster's tail wrap around mom just before it sat down there. What a stunning picture with them, the mountains in the distance. And just if we zoom out quite a bit more, without now looking through my binoculars, they are super well camouflaged there up on that mound. Basically the same color as that mound. I'd be interested to see what direction mom sets off in as well, now that you can see a little bit of a yawn. See, Nak, you're asking what other animals cheetah will prey on here in Phinda. Things like the common duiker, we get the red duiker, and not quite this vegetation, but we also get the little suni up in the sand forest, which could also potentially be a prey species for these cheetah, but they will seldom be up in the sand forest. Very, very thick vegetation, although we do find them to go and hunt in the woodlands, where they don't have to run as far and expend as much energy. But there's that, there's scrub hares, even some of the game birds, guinea fowl, franklin and the likes, they could definitely try their hand at trying to catch. But I think now we'll see what mom does. She might have noticed something off in the distance to the left-hand side with her head pricked up. See how her body language has changed somewhat. But then the youngster again is not doing what mom does, looking for the next meal, just more exploring than anything else. And if there was something, they could very well be out in the open now and give their cover away.
We have a mama hippo here with a little one. She's staying a little bit further away from the pod at the moment. actually wonder if there's a second little one. So the one that we're used to seeing is a little bit to the right on the banks. Its little head is poking up every now and then. There we go. Some really nice sounds here at the Tswalu Dam. A very peaceful place to be, especially in the heat, except I've just figured out that there's very little shade to park under at the Tswalu Dam. We have found one tiny spot. I feel like Kalamba in her small patch of shade. I hope you can hear that Dietrich cuckoo in the background. I'll point it out again just now. There it went again. The baby hippo in this dam has been so entertaining. Especially the other day when we came here and it was on Mum's back and sliding off Mum's back and turning onto its side, and I could see its big belly. That was too cute. But now, because of the heat of the sun, everyone is trying to stay submerged as long as possible. Little one just came out again. Rosalind, you'd like to know how many calves can a hippo have? Well, usually just have one at a time. There may be, because usually with animals that have one at a time, or that its textbook is one at a time, or the textbook information is one at a time, occurrence of twins have been noted. I can't remember an instance where I've read that hippo twins, but in my experience of large animals that do have one in the textbook, or one offspring written in the textbook at a time, two have been noticed. These, see, Mum and the little one is coming just a little closer towards us here. Let's see if we get a better view. Look at that. The water looks so inviting. If I could just clear out all the adults and just have that little one. They're trying to get on top of Mum's back. Oh. Oh, so sweet. Gigi, you'd like to know when do little hippos start to eat grass? I think she's feeling a little protective of her young one now, which means that I'm going to put my vehicle into first gear and put my feet on my pedals, just in case. It can be surprisingly fast, close to 40 kilometers per hour on land, so you always should be a little bit prepared. Anyway, Gigi, back to your question, when do they start eating grass? Look at that. The first thing that they'll start to do, or one of the first things they'll start to do, obviously they're a mammal, they'll suckle. Then they'll start to eat mum's poo, basically. And by doing that, the little one gets a whole lot of the all the bacterial colonies that it needs, that's specific to its species, and particularly specific to its pod and its mother. And why I say specific to, or locally specific, is that there may be different species of grasses across different parts of Africa, and certain bacteria might be better at digesting it than others. So they'll need specifically mum's local composition of bacteria. And so you'll often see them chomping on mum's defecation. And they will start to eat grass very quickly, within a few weeks. Because as soon as they have the type of gut bacteria to properly digest the grass, which is within a few days to a week, they'll start eating it, no problem, and they'll eat and be suckled at the same time. Look at that, made it onto Mum's back successfully, not sliding off. Very sweet. I think Mum was just letting us know that I see you. I'm just going to show you how big and wide my mouth is, how big my teeth are. Let you know I have a little one, but you're all right for now. And we are going to stick around in this spot of shade at the dam and just do a bit of a dam watch and see what else comes down to drink.
As you can see, a gentleman's club has now arrived at the waterhole. These old boys, these buffalo bulls, slowly made their way from up the crest down into the waterhole to take advantage of the fact that the elephant herds have moved off, and now they can dominate the mud without having to compete. There was reports of a herd of buffalo also not so far away. I'm sure by now they'll probably be on their way to the waterhole. So another reason for these old gentlemen to make use of it before they have to share this wonderful resource. You can see this buffalo there. Look at his skin and his muscles rippling there as biting insects are landing on him. He's trying to chase them off. Oh, this one's actually got a bit of decoration. Look at that. He's got a branch stuck between his ear and his horns. It's probably very uncomfortable. That's actually probably part of the reason why it's doing what it's doing. Not only to cover itself in mud, but also to try and get rid of that branch. I think a piece of it fell out now. That's good. Well done. Task here is almost complete. But also by covering themselves in that mud, as it dries, it creates a barrier that the biting flies cannot get through. It'll be much more comfortable for the buffalo. Watch this. Eventually it'll turn over onto its other side and give the other side a good basting. It's always important to properly coat the whole body. Look at it's raising its nose up like that to try and have a bit of a smell. Or just because it was about to stand up. It actually looks like it's wearing an earring. This is a distinguished gentleman. It's actually a fairly young bull. Not a young bull, but in the others, because if you see the bars, the horns on the top there, they're really fine, getting shiny and like knobbly. That's when you know it's a very old bull that's been spending its whole life rubbing those horns on branches and sticks and leaves and fighting and all sorts of other things. So this is, although an older bull, still very much able to fight and compete and probably still get lots of mating opportunities with some of the females. Maybe just taking a bit of time off. When buffalo herds are around and it is the breeding season, these buffaloes tend to fight aggressively and they clash their horns together. So you can see all of these are older buffalo, not necessarily past their prime, but definitely no longer really need to compete for the females. They'll move in when they need to and most likely dominate most of the other buffalo. But when they do fight, they run from meters apart from each other and they smash their massive boss together, and it's very aggressive. I saw a buffalo once lift another one straight into the air in a fight, which was just a testament to their power, because, I mean, each of them is weighing maybe between 700, 800 kilos, maybe even more, to be able to lift it right off the ground. Look at this one's got a very strange set of horns. Look at that. See how curved back they are? This one's built for speed. He's adapted for maximum aerodynamic movement. That's quite interesting. So we talked the other day about the different shapes of buffalo horns. So this one has got quite a unique shape. I don't know if that helps or hinders him, but it certainly makes him look very cool. I'm sure he's a hit with the ladies. And there you can see actually the difference. The buffalo at the back there's got that really bumpy set of horns, and the one who's got the really interesting speed horns has got a much smoother boss, so he's a little bit younger. And this buffalo is tired of not getting in the limelight, so it's taking his time to shine. Hey there. But they've been earlier to the mud wallow as well. You can see some of them have got mud caked on their bodies. So they're just getting a bit of a top up right now. Still a nice breeze blowing, lots of birds around. I can see a few elephants in the distance. I'm sure other animals will come to the waterhole soon.
We are doing well at Buffelshoek Dam Watch. Got some buffalo come down to visit now. For males, we live in Duggar boys, much like the ones you saw there with Mike at Prideland. A few old boys hanging out together. Not always have to be that old. There's one slightly younger one amongst them. But they came down and had a bit of a drink. All the hippos went down very low. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. On hot days like this, when I watch animals drink, it just makes me so thirsty. And then when I go off air, I have best swig of my water bottle. And there's something very, very satisfying about that. I love it. Love just sitting at a dam and watching stuff come down. They're watching for something. I wonder if they see another creature heading our way. Maybe more buffalo, maybe some elephants. That would be awesome. Maybe a giraffe. Oh, possibilities are endless. That's why I like to sit here. So many possibilities. Just so many. I wonder what we'll see soon.
Welcome back to the Mara. Now from those buffaloes. Oh, that's a lion sneezing. So we come across these lions that are sleeping here, but one of them is actually awake, and can see she's a little bit scanning the area to see what is going on. But she's being bothered by those flies. They're actually called alettes. These are reproductive ants, and most of the time when ants come into a reproductive cycle, they get into what we call alettes, where they have wings, and this is what we're seeing right now here. So the males reproduce a very nice chemical component called the pheromone, and attracts the females, where they'll mate and start up a new colony. So that's what is bothering this lion. So this is one of the youngsters from a lioness from the River Pride. So they broke away and separated themselves from the River Pride. They've been hanging around here around the Mugoro area. About 3 weeks ago, their mother was mating Chongo and another lion from the Bila Shaka coalition. Looks like they had tried to hunt but failed, because this morning we didn't find them here. We normally use this road a lot. I haven't seen them for about a week and a half now.
Well, I have a very rare bird here called a greater painted snipe. And this is a bird that is not very common. It's a migrant. And it's very nice to see a pair together. That is the male. Very rarely seen. You always find it close to water and feeds on small insects, all insects that hang around water, and that's why we never get to see it, because it is very secretive. It's called the greater painted snipe, and that's all we could see. We're going to try and move forward, see if we can reposition and see it. It's going farther and farther. No, it has disappeared on us, but I don't know if we can see it. Okay, can you see it? No, we can't see it. Yes, that was a greater painted snipe. Somebody asked me the other day if we do see them. We do see them, but they're very, very rare. They do migrate. And every now and then we have them lasting for very, 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 very long. I think, if I showed you in the book, if you have enough time, I have to look for my book. It's snipe. It is one of those birds that we call it a lifer. If a bird sees it, he'll definitely jump in jubilation. Dear watcher, thank you for your comment. You love the coloring. Definitely did have some very beautiful coloration. As I look for it, we'll try and show you the kind of weather we have here. Look, the weatherman did predict that we're going to have about, 60% precipitation for this afternoon. I think maybe he mistook. It's supposed to be 61 or so, because that is a very, very heavy cloud coming our way. But it's still quite a bit. I hope it gives me enough time to, find the owinos. Well, I have my snipe here, and this is what I was looking at. Sorry, this is what we were looking at, the greatest painted snipe, this one here. It's a very, quite widespread. And yeah, it's got this long beak for feeding on little creepy crawlies in the water. Yeah, this one here. And it does also migrate, coming here and staying from the months of April till May. And there are quite a variety of them, but this is the one we get here, greater painted snipe. Sometimes we do have some resident ones, but we do get the most of them coming from the months of April to May. That is when we have plenty of them. Okay, I'm gonna move further up before it gets dark, because this cloud looks like it's gonna cover us quite soon. Save the planet, Jumbo. Is there winter season in Africa? No. In Africa, we don't experience those seasons like autumn, winter, summer, and I don't know what's the other one. We only have wet and dry, and right now we are experiencing the short wet season. We call it the short rains, which are September, October, November. And it can rain very afternoon, and it can be very, very heavy. And then it's going to be very dry all the way to February. And then after that, we have the long rain. So, save the world, we don't get those seasons like you do. Yes, it looks like it's going to come really hard, this one. Because the wind has picked up. But it looks very, very beautiful. These will force a lot of things to come out. So we do have some eland here that we'll share with you before the rain hits us. We have some eland here, Bungay. The eland is our largest antelope. They're somewhere down there. Yes, that's eland. It's the largest African antelope. Can weigh up to around 1,000 kilos for fully grown males. Those are females. They weigh up to around 600, 700 kilos. These are an antelope well adapted, lives out in the open plains and also in scrubby land, because it can feed on grass as well as plenty of plant matter. This is the time of the year when they give birth, around November. We have been seeing quite some young ones, but I don't see any here. That is a big bull to the right. Can tell he's got a much thicker neck, and also longer horns and thicker horns. Definitely he's a male. And he's got some oxpeckers on his back. Right now, from where he is, he can clearly see me and also hear me. This is an antelope that has never gotten used to vehicles. It's always running away from vehicles and humans. Yeah, look at him. It's quite a big guy. Very big guy. Yeah, that side there is no rain, but we are not heading there. Quite clear, a long ways away. Yeah, let's continue on, see what else we can find. The temperature has dropped quite drastically at the moment. And it's starting to get chilly. So I'm gonna get ready to put on my jacket, and let's take you to another live location.
So welcome back to this side of the Mara, where the breakaway pride are out on the move now. I think the mother has located something, and the reason why they are walking towards that direction. Not quite sure what they've seen. Lions have a very nice eyesight, and I'm sure whatever they've located there is something that they might think for dinner. So I'll try and follow them slowly, because they can see there's a big storm approaching. I hope they get successful just before the storm. Joshua, do lions hunt in the rain? Lions are opportunistic and they hunt whatever weather there is, be it rain, be it sunshine, be it night, or during the day. So yes, they can hunt during the rain. And the advantage they have during the rain is that sometimes the prey, whatever they've located, will definitely be facing one side and actually getting only one side, and that will be the rain. So let me just carry on and see where our lions are heading to. Not so sure what they've seen, but it would be nice to actually drive along and see a hot pursuit. How many female lions are usually in a pride? The number varies, sometimes 4, 5, even 10. It depends with how big the pride is. So this lioness broke away and has 2 youngsters, so those will definitely be the lionesses in the pride. Good thing, the lion females never leave the natal prides. So this will form a very big pride in future because the mother is pregnant and having 2 youngsters with her, then she's assured of success in whatever she'll be doing. So it only varies with the number of how big the pride is actually to tell how many lionesses can be in a pride. But average, I'll say 2 to 3. She's scanning for prey, and I think whatever she saw. Whatever they've located is not what I'm thinking, because there's some buffaloes, old buffalo bulls, and I'm sure that's not there much. These young lionesses with her are not very well experienced to bring down a big prey like a buffalo. So definitely they'll have to find something else. Taylor, what is their favorite meal? Their meal will vary from during the dry season or during times like this when there's no game. They'll take on to wildebeest. They take on to warthogs. During the migration, they'll be taking on wildebeest and zebra. So to actually pick on a favorite, they also like large prey. That will be their preferred meal, because a big prey like a zebra or a topi will last them at least longer. But it depends with the availability of prey. So when there's scarcity of prey, they'll take on to warthogs. Because of her experience, the mother is leading her girls away from the buffaloes. Craig, what's the tuft on the lion's tail for? That initially is for a time like this when there is long grass and the lion has cubs, so it always acts as a follow me sign for youngsters who will always be following the tail. And also during the time that the cubs are growing, she always plays along her tail so that they can act like a hunt, where they'll always be swinging their tails to make the cubs a little bit active. But most of the time during the long grass like this, they act as a follow me sign, where by seeing that tuft, the cubs will be able to follow. She looks a little bit skinny. All of them look a little bit skinny. So I think it's high time for them to find some food, because I can tell they've been going on for a few days without food. So right now they've already developed that skill to hunt, but they're not fully capable enough of hunting on their own without mom at the moment. So it will take them a little bit of a while before they become super or fully independent to hunt on their own. Even though they've already hunted alongside mom, they've watched mom, so it takes her experience to really make them good or sharpen their skills to hunt. I think they're walking towards a game drive road, so let's just follow them slowly. The advantage that they have now is that most animals are able just to smell rain. So if she walks the downwind, she'll be able to get an advantage. And you can see she has an advantage because of the long grass. Oh, she's running. I think she's located something. Let me just position strategically for you to see. She's actually on a stalking game. I don't know what she's located. Oh yes, there's some toppies there, and toppies with calves. Toppies have very sharp eyes, so she has to position herself strategically to get closer to them. And the advantage she has right now is because of the long grass. And the wind is actually blowing from the topi towards her, and that's another advantage. The youngsters have stayed behind because of their inexperience to hunt, because most of the time lions will lose their prey because youngsters will always come or conceal themselves, expose themselves rather, to make it difficult for the adults to hunt. I can see one of them joining mom, and that's a nice strategy because the toppies are on towards her left. and colleagues have seen the other lionesses. So far, she's not been seen. You can see the topi there watching the two girls. So the ideal move right now is she's walked around behind them and the other two lionesses are staying exposed so the topis can actually see them. So if this one start advancing, so they'll be able to push the topis towards their mother, making it easy for her to go after them. Carlton, thank you for your question. Have I ever been stalked by a lion? No, I've never been stalked by a lion. I think that would be a very, very tricky position for me to be stalked by a lion. So always out here, I try and make sure that I read the signs of the wild to make sure that I'm in a safe position not to be stalked by any predator. So I'll still try and close the gap because the mother has closed the gap again. So I'm going to position here because we can see her in line with the topi. So those are the two youngsters, but the mother is just in line with the topi. So from the topi right there, on the foreground, you can see a tiny little spot, and that's where the lion is. So she has to time perfectly because topis have very sharp eyes. We call them the watchmen of the savannah. Tyler, how long does a lion run before giving up? So it depends with the distance actually. So most predators have a limit on to how they will close their gap between them and prey. So lions preferably, they will be about 15 meters. Cheetahs will be about 30 meters before they run in a burst to surprise prey. So if she closes the gap and gets a little bit closer, and it's well timed, she can actually run for about a minute or maybe 200 meters. We've seen lots of hunts, like the previous hunt I saw here, the lioness got too close to the wildebeest and she actually ran about 8 meters and caught up. So it actually depends on the position, the timing, and how well the prey is alert or not. So it can be something between 100 meters to 10 meters. Craig, Lions can run for about 55 to 58 kilometers an hour. And that only is for a very short burst for about 30 to 40 meters in full burst like that. This is always a game of patience because any mistake and then the topi will be alert. So good thing they have the wind direction which is blowing towards the lions, so they have the upper hand. Crazyless, you'd be shocked if they catch a topi. I'm sure this is when experience comes into action. Despite topis being one of the fastest antelope out here in the savannah, lions can really get them. So we've seen lots of kills where lions have taken down topi. So it actually has to go on experience. So that one is watching because the sister and the mother are just in front of her, and this is always what we call the security, because sometimes they're the ones that will actually flash prey towards the waiting lions. So for example, that is a strategy because she will want to be exposed and actually get closer. So when the topis will see her, so they'll actually run towards the mother who have gone round to the other side. We have about more than 6 topis out there, and none of them has actually seen the lions. So let's wait and see what will happen. It's a game of patience. Sometimes it can even take 20 minutes, sometimes it can take an hour. We never know. Tonio, how long have I sat to see lions execute a hunt? I've waited for 6 hours. I've waited for 20 minutes. I've waited for 5 minutes. So the longest I've taken is about 6 hours. She's closing the gap. You can only see her back. And the advantage that he has, the topi is actually facing the other direction. She's still closing the gap. For those who are joining us now, this is Lioness from the Breakaway Pride, and they've picked a spot where they have topis, and it's our game of patience. We are almost witnessing a hunt. I think the topi has sensed something. You can see they're all running now. She's on the move, trying to get closer. topies are still upwind, so she has an advantage still. Sometimes we close the gap and you almost think that it's going to happen, but then wind changes direction and everything is in. But it seems like wind is still blowing from the one direction, but I can see the top is sensing something because they keep on looking her direction. But it seems like no. She's closing the gap, getting closer and closer. Good thing she's behind the bush now. The lead top is actually grazing. That's too close. The lead top is not quite sure what's happening, but then every now and then looking around. But whenever she feels it's safe, carries on to graze, and giving the lion an advantage to close the gap. Still getting closer and closer. Remember, she's still in the grass there. You can only see a tiny bit of it. Zach, do they hunt like this every day? Every day is different. We have a different behavior every day. So depending on where they are, but the stalking game is still the same. How she's crouching, how she's walking towards the prey is always the same, but different kind of behavior witnessed occasionally. She's too close, I tell you. So we can't really tell at what point she is right now, but definitely she's getting closer and closer. She has an advantage because there's some calves there. And in a herd like this, they always isolate the young ones who are inexperienced. So you can only see a tiny brown spot on the topi to the left, just on the foreground there, the one that is grazing. I think the lion is just closer to her. Do lions have more success in cooler weather? Yes, they can have an upper hand in cooler weather because they use less energy when it's cold, despite them having most challenges. But it's an advantage when it's cool because less energy is used as compared to when it's hot. On hotter day, temperatures are high, so lions will use more energy and lose lots of energy because of the heat. Another advantage right now is the rain is coming and the topis can be able to smell rain. So sometimes the wet ground, the wet soil can also hinder them from getting the lion's scent. So for lions to come out in a hunt like this, they have to be patient, because topis have very sharp eyes. And actually, topis are one of the most difficult prey that lions go for, because they're fast, they have a sharp eye, and sometimes you find that most of the other herbivores will like to associate themselves with topi and zebra because of their heightened alert in terms of security whenever they see predators. But today, it's different. The wind is blowing towards the lion coming from the topi. It's almost raining. The grass is tall, giving the lion about 90% advantage to get close to the topi. That is a mistake. The topi is so comfortable, crouched down, and I think that might be the prime target. So let's just wait here and see. Normally, the topis stand for each other when one is being attacked. I would say yes, when a mother sees that her calf is being attacked, they might come in their defense. But in a big group like this, everyone for themselves. But you find occasionally when mothers will always defend their young ones. So depending on the type of predator, if it's a jackal going after a calf, if it's a cheetah, the mothers will always be aggressive. But in such cases where we have oh, she's up, she's gone. Yes, she's on the move. Not quite sure if she got something. Looks like a failed attempt. But not quite sure. Let me just drive closer to see. The grass is too tall for us to be able to tell if she got something. I can still see her there. Let me just wait and see. I think it's a failed attempt, viewers. But it's always nice to see that kind of behavior happening. For some reason, I don't know why she didn't pick the one that was lying down. She went for the one that was grazing. You know, we always think differently. We're not in the lion's brain, so she knows why she went for the one that was grazing. Poor girl. Next to that bush, right in front of us. I can see her youngsters coming to join. It's a disappointment for the family because they know mom has missed dinner. So she'll have to find something else. So the family is reuniting now, saying sorry to mom. love you, Mom. You know, you've been trying all the best to make sure that our stomachs are filled. But never mind, tomorrow is another day. So they're right in front of us here. You can see Mom to the left. She's regaining some energy because she looks a little bit tired, and her daughters have come to say sorry to Mom. But that was a nice trial. We're so proud of you, Mom. If not tonight, maybe tomorrow, Mom, you'll hunt for us. So these two youngsters, by watching how Mom does it, they slowly get that experience. And in future, when they become mothers, that is what they'll teach the cubs. Her little groom on Mom, trying to comfort her. Yeah, congratulate your Mom for a nice effort, even though it's a failed attempt. So before Mom does it again, it's going to take a while. She has to get some energy. Heather, wow, that was thrilling. My heart was racing a bit. You know, I was crossing fingers for the lions. I'm sure some of you might not like it or maybe feel a little bit intense, but it's nature taking its course. See, these lions are quite a little bit skinny, I would say, because they haven't had a meal for quite some time. So it's always nice seeing these lions healthy. So that is the tough game that they go through, even though sometimes we see lions eating. So back in mind, I always think of how it went before they brought that particular species down. And to watch a hunt, sometimes it's thrilling. She's still grooming her Mom, licking her, comforting her. You know, that also enhances the bond between the three, or lions in a pride. She's now cleaning her face while cleaning Mom as well. Very nice. So out of about 10 attempts, 7 might be successful. So I don't know how many times they've been trying to hunt. Remember when we got there, when we first saw them, I was assured that they had tried to hunt because they were not there this morning when you were on the Sunray safari, and when you're driving back to camp, they were still not there. So it seems like they've been walking up around trying to locate prey. And I'm not sure how many times they missed. We've only seen once. So I'm not sure if that was the 7th or the 6th. I think they might choose this spot to settle for the night because I can see we're surrounded by a storm, and sometimes lions will just want to be in a place where they can shelter from the rain. It's always difficult for lions at this time of the year, especially because of the rain, because game is not always around where we always see them. The reason we've seen most of the game concentrated in the rivers or in the swamp is because when it gets dry, that is the only source of water, that is the only source of food for them. And that is where lions concentrate mostly. Craig, at what age do lions learn to stalk? I would say about 7 months. And then when they're about 9 months old, their mothers will introduce them for their first hunt. So probably from 7, that is the first time they learn the stalking game. The mother will always go out on a hunt, isolate a young or baby species, baby antelope, and then bring it to the cubs, and the cubs will begin learning by chasing it around and even killing it. So that is the first introduction when they're about 7 months. Looks like all have laid flat. It's going to be another hour or so before they decide on what to do. So I think I'll just leave them peacefully here. So sorry for that mom, she didn't bring food. So maybe leave them here and maybe try to find something else. Leave them to just settle and the mom to regain her energy before she decides to go and hunt again. You can see a beautiful sunset there across the Ololo escarpment. I like the sun rays there. Always magical whenever you see the sunrise, sunset. It's very magical. You can see the heavy cloud just passing over, putting a very nice glare in between the escarpment and the clouds. Just want to go silent a little bit so that we can listen to all the sounds coming from here. amazing scene. Thank you. I can't agree more. It's a magical moment. Just like the way the grass is turning, change of color because of the sun. Super magical. This is what we call the golden hour. I remember when I was growing up, the boys' story, we used to conclude that whenever there's sun and there's rain, it was a hyena wedding. So whoever came with that concept, I don't know whether they came to see a hyena mating or when hyenas were feeding, or I don't know what really went through our minds during that time, because we always said hyenas are in a wedding dance. So I'm not quite sure if hyenas here are in a wedding or not. Just look at the golden rays shining through the grass. Amali, I can't agree more. The sun against the black cloud is just amazing. We don't often see this. didn't get the name quite well, but what animals of the Maras have we not seen? I'm trying to think of an animal that we haven't seen, but I think we've all seen all the species that are in the Mara. Only I'd say the nocturnal species we haven't seen. So the genet cats, the bush babies, say the nocturnal creatures we haven't seen during the sunset or the sunrise safaris. So I think by staying positioned here, I've seen a salvo walking through the golden grass. So just changing position towards the salvo. So sometimes sitting on one position pays off because the unexpected happens. So just positioning for the salvo. She went through the long grass onto my right, so I just want to position a little bit so we can be able to see the salvo. They're very shy cats, so our presence might deter the salvo. So I just want to be a little bit slow. So that's a problem with the long grass and also an advantage for the salvo because this long grass hides lots of animals, lots of creatures. So we just want to wait patiently for the salvo to re-emerge. Salvos are nocturnal creatures, and we always see them from dusk to dawn, and sometimes even during the day. But specifically, they're out during the night. Just went behind that bush. So we're remaining silent for her to just pop out. As we wait for the salvo to re-emerge, it was a very nice activity watching those lions. So let me take you over to another live location.
Smell that. There she is.
Aubrey, your Nkuluva here is coming to watch you now.
We finally made it back, and now, look at her. In one of the most beautiful trees in Juma. She's right at the top now. Well, not right at the top of the tree, but at the top towards her kill. None other than our Princess Tlalamba. It's cooled down now. perfect. We just drove in here, and she managed to be walking towards us and then climb the tree. Just perfect timing, I think. Now she's sitting with her prize. It is by far the most beautiful jackalberry I have ever seen. But only the second most beautiful tree on Juma, I think. My first one, of course, being the Balanites, the torchwood. You know how we have dreamed of seeing a leopard in this tree? I know Tristan had it once. And he said the same thing. He said, all the guides will be so envious of having it. It was Tlalamba in this tree. And now I'm feeling very, very, very privileged to be able to see her in this tree with my own eyes and share it with all of you, of course. This afternoon's drive has quite a nice feeling about it. It feels almost a spark or tingliness about this afternoon's drive. Was that Spas? Spas wanted to know what variety of animals leopards feed on. By far, impala and duiker are the best, or the ones that are most frequently fed on by leopards. But apart from that, steenbok as well, scrub hares, little things. I told you that I've seen her hunt water thickney, I've seen her hunt mongoose, squirrel, but they were not the type of things that you'd ordinarily see recorded. Then there's leopards like hukumuri in the west. Hukumuri loves warthog. So there's many, many different variety or large variety that they feed on. And that is one of the reasons they're so successful. Plus, when they hunt, they only have to think about themselves. They don't have to think about the pride or anything like that. They just have to worry about themselves. So that makes hunting a lot easier. So then they can be a lot more opportunistic than, say, a lion pride. Look at that. Panting hard. With the nice big arms of this tree, she looks a lot more comfortable than when she's on the skinny trees, or when you see any leopard on the skinny trees. This one is so large, but it's like a king-size bed with extra length. There's a herd of impala close by that are unaware of her at the moment. Very close by, actually. I can see them very well. They're all the way on this side here. It is very likely that she may decide to hunt and stash. Leopards keep what's, I guess, known as a pantry, where they'll stash different kills up into trees. See, they're a little aware of something, but because of the wind, they're not sure what direction. the smell is coming from. Perhaps they can smell the carcass of the lamb as well as the leopard. And she had just scent marked at the base of this jackalberry. I want to keep quiet now for a little bit because I feel that they are quite alert, and I wonder if they will start alarming. And I want you to be able to hear that. The impala have put their heads down now, at least some of them eating. What a gorgeous view. And this are the most beautiful jackalberry I have ever seen. Can you imagine how many hundreds of years old this jackalberry must be? It's massive, absolutely massive. If I had to stretch my arms out, yeah, so my arms are about a little bit longer than my height, which is strange, I know. It's about 1.6 meters. And that seems to be the diameter of the base, the trunk of this tree. Hundreds of years old, I'm sure. Imagine all the stories it could tell us about all the different leopards that have been here. It can tell us about Talamba's mother, Tandi, her grandmother, Karula, her great-grandmother, Safari. It can tell us so much. We're going to stick around here and see if those impala get alerted and if she gets any more interested in them.
No. Just behind. Alrighty guys, so good afternoon. We're just behind the branch now. We're in quite a signal sensitive spot, so unfortunately couldn't show you the lions mating. But there's a mating pair over there, and then we've got a very jealous other male that's right over here. Good afternoon, my name is Maurits. By the way, behind the camera we've got David. And so we can't really move much at the moment with the vehicle because we're in between the mountains, and if we move like 5 meters we might lose you guys. But as you can see, this guy is lying just looking at the action happening. We're actually hoping, we're standing by a waterhole, so we're hoping that those lions are coming will continue coming closer. And then we might get some action with these two boys, possibly squabbling over the female or something like that. That would be great. But yeah, I spent quite a bit of time this afternoon tracking these guys. Eventually found this one first, and we knew that there had to be a female somewhere because we saw the tracks of the female also coming into the waterhole. However, as we sat with this guy, we heard there was another lion, making a sound, and then we quickly went to investigate and found those two. However, they were, like I said, they were in a bad zone when it came to the signal, just behind a little hill where we can't show you guys. However, I do really hope that they come this way. I see they've gone into the shade now a little bit, but they're definitely edging closer to the water every now and again. So hopefully soon they'll be on this side, and then we'll be able to get some mating action and hopefully a little bit of a fight amongst the coalition members. It won't be a dangerous fight for either one of the two. They'll just measure strengths, and then as soon as they see who's the strongest, that male will then continue with a female. It is very possible that they've already done so. I mean, this guy seems to be quite relaxed with a female that's in estrus, not 300 meters away from him, and he's looking at them mating with one another. So it could be that they've already sorted out the ranking. But yeah, just a beautiful, beautiful male lion. I mean, this is the guy that I like the most. That's the one that I said looks like a, that face is just so impressive. And when he stands up, you'll see he's also huge. The other male that's mating with a female at the moment, he's slightly older than this guy, so maybe a little bit more experienced when it comes to fighting or so on. And they're also related to one another. So with that being the case, it might just be that they grew up knowing that he's a higher rank, and this guy is respecting it. So yeah. We just had a question from Black Widow. How old is this particular male? So in the Kalahari, the male lions grow a little older than what you'd find in the Lowveld. This male is 10 years of age, which is generally quite old for a male. Typically, you'll find that in the Lowveld, like in Kruger and those places, male lions only average about a 10 years lifespan, because they go into their prime a little earlier, around 5.5, 6, maybe 7 years, and then they're dominant in the territory for around 2 to 3 years before they get kicked out. And as soon as they get kicked out, you have to understand, guys, when a male lion has a pride of females in his territory, he doesn't want to give that up. So normally when they do get kicked out of a territory, they either fight to the death because they don't want to lose their females, or they've had the good life now for so long that they've gotten so old and so lazy that when they get kicked out, they are going to have an injury, obviously, and then they can't take care of themselves anymore. So then typically the males don't necessarily survive. This is also not always the case. I know of males in Kruger and the Sabi Sands specifically that's gone up to, after getting kicked out, growing old and living up to about 17 years. So it is possible. Look at that big boy. However, in the Kalahari, because of the environment being so sparse and so dry, and so, their territories being larger than what you'd find in Kruger, you do find them coming into contact with other lions less frequently. So they fight less, and because of that, their life expectancy is a little longer. So this guy is about 10 years old, just over actually. And then the other male that's mating with a female currently is around 13, which again is very old for a male lion, but I mean, they are looking in excellent condition, as you can see. Not struggling at all to do what they need to do at the moment. So yeah, he looks like he had a meal recently. That's by the way that belly is hanging, he hasn't eaten too long ago. But yeah, guys, we're going to see if they don't want to go closer to one another, see if we can find a spot where there's good signal. If there is, we're going to show you. But for the meantime, we're going to send you off somewhere else, okay?
Something has gotten Tlalamba's attention, and I'm sure you can guess what it is. It's none other than June from the Juma clan. I love that they try to get up. Even though they know their limits, but they'll still try. Some of the viewers will remember that time that Hasana had the kill, and I can't remember exactly where it was, but Hasana had the kill, and the hyenas came. At one point, Hasana and the hyenas were sharing the kill on the ground, and one hyena bit the kill and was off the ground, spinning with the kill as it twirled. And then Tingana came and just chased everybody off. Said, enough play. There's so many impala around. Go, why don't you get yourself a meal? instead of trying to take Tlalamba's. She's walking towards them. But I'm quite sure that she will just pass by.
Alrighty guys, so we quickly just squizzed around the tree. And there you can see the two now, just lying in the shade. Have a look at how beautiful that green is. I told David earlier it looks like you're standing on a fairway on a golf course almost. A very smooth green like just surface, and it's stunning. Unfortunately it isn't grass though. Here you can now see where the other guy is lying, so not very far away from one another, the mating pair and the other male. You can also now very clearly see that missing tip of the tail on this guy's backside. See, he doesn't have that round ball of black fluff. He does still have a little bit, but somewhere along the line he got either bitten there or so. That little beautiful butterfly, also a brown veined white. We're not far away from having an explosion of those little butterflies all over the Kalahari. With us having the shepherd's trees around here, their caterpillars typically use the shepherd's trees to mature and metamorphosize into the butterflies that they are. So they all turn into butterflies over here, not just over here, but mostly over here, and then you have them spending about 2-3 weeks over here and then start migrating. About maybe a month later, after you start seeing these loads and loads of butterflies, that's when you'll start seeing them in Johannesburg and all of those places also coming through. But yeah, unfortunately, as beautiful as that green is at the moment, it's not grass, guys. That is all devil's thorns. So it is going to be stunning in about, I want to say, maybe a month's time, because then every little single, you have to understand, those are all little plants that's coming out, maybe as long as my finger at the moment. So for it to be that green, you can imagine how many plants there are coming out, and they're all creepers. So imagine them creeping over covering the surface of the earth, and then every single one of those plants exploding into like just bright yellow flowers. You come around the corner and it looks like someone's thrown a duvet over the ground with just yellow flowers everywhere. It's beautiful, beautiful. And then a little while later, you don't want to walk barefoot there because otherwise you are going to be full of thorns. But it's just always exciting to see some green in the bush. This guy is going flat. I do think they've already sorted out their ranking. I just had a question from Antique. Do these males have names? So, you know, naming the animals is always a very personal thing for me to do. We have given them, I wouldn't say a permanent name, just because this is more physical attributes that's causing us to call them that. So this guy we call Stompy, which means little stump, because of that missing tip on the tail. The male that's currently mating with the female has got this kink in his tail, possibly also from a bite back in the day or so. So he's kinky tail. And then the other boy, he's got this massive front paw. Don't know how it happened, but guys, it's visibly larger than any of the other males' front foot. So we call him either Oput or Bigfoot, Lauren actually made the suggestion that we have to call him Bigfoot. But so the Afrikaans for that is Oupwood. And with us being in the Northern Cape, quite a lot of people are Afrikaans. So we, I do feel like we still need to name them something appropriate, like in the local language, Setswana. Something like, I'm not good with naming in that language, but when I was in the sands working over there, they always used to, the trackers always used to give the guys such beautiful names like Mashabeni and Shalamba and Kashan and those types of things. So I feel like we need to give these males, especially because you can identify them rather easily, looking at those different traits, give them some proper names. And not human names, not John and Fred. That doesn't work. That takes away the beauty of them. And you can see there's probably a little bit of flirting involved there. That female, strange enough, guys, that's quite a young female. So we just had a question from Lost Shore. Would both males mate with a female? And yes, absolutely, they would. Let's say, for instance, that male is busy mating with this female, and this guy that we have lying on the dam wall decides, you know what, I am stronger than you. And he comes over and challenges that male for the rights they are actually going to, by the looks of it. She's playing hard to get. If he challenges, this other male challenges that boy at the moment, and he wins the little scuffle, he will then continue mating with a female. So absolutely, you do find that they sometimes mate, both males mate with a female, or even sometimes three males mate with a female, in a coalition, if the ranking order just works out that way. Which is not a bad thing. But typically speaking, you'd find that the males sort out the ranking order before they get to the point where they're mating. As soon as they see she's going into estrus, she's going to have all sorts of hormones coming out of her. So that's going to drive the males crazy. They will know it's time to sort out the ranking order, and then that is typically, I think they just did it behind the bush now. Yeah. Definitely. You can hear she gave him a shout now. So to answer your question, yes, they would. If this guy decides, you know what, I'm going to challenge you now, and he wins the fight. But they won't just both of them mate with a female because they're both in the mood. There's definitely going to be a little fight beforehand. And yeah, guys, I do think that mating pair will slowly edge closer to the waterhole. I'm hoping for it. It would be great to have them over here, busy mating right next to us, where we can see them a little bit nicer. But as you can see, this guy is not looking like he's doing much. I think what we might do is to try and get another spot where there's signal and see if we can't get an open view on that honeymoon couple. But for the meantime, we're going to send you off somewhere else.
She is finally tucked in, and little bits of fur have come off our little lamb and are blowing in the wind rather romantically, although somehow it's not fitting. The impalas nearby have still not noticed her, but I'm sure now that she's really tucking into the carcass, they'll get the smell. June, the hyena, she walked by the impalas too, and they didn't really alarm. They just stared at her. It's really windy. I feel the storm brewing. That would just be great. We really need some rain. Or rather, it feels strange that we haven't had some really good rain yet. But we're doing pretty well. Luke, that's an interesting question. You'd like to know, who is she most likely to mate with? She's likely to mate with the Mulwati. She's likely to mate with Tingana. Yes, I can imagine there are a few amongst the viewers, but that is... Inbreeding in leopards is something that happens quite often, and they can go quite a few generations without it having any particular problem, and that's because, unlike cheetahs, they haven't experienced a genetic bottleneck, which means that they have enough variety, enough genetic variety to allow them a certain amount of inbreeding. So I would say Mulwati, Tingana, basically any of our males that are around at the moment. She spends time up in Buffelshoek as well, so in Shlangula is another option. And of course Hukumuri, and my favorite option, which I have thought is going to happen from about a year ago, is Hosanna. I think if she and Hosanna, oh, look at those eyes in that sunlight. Wow. Gosh, she almost looked like Catwoman or something. Her and Hosanna. I have seen him follow her around when she was still quite young. I said a year ago. So only when she was about 2 years old. Follow her. Probably even less than that. And, well, we know the type of leopard he is. He was very playful and very sociable. But he just had this look on his face that a naughty boy does when they're trying to pursue you at a party. Or perhaps you are that naughty boy. Either way, I'm speaking to either one, either side of that party. He definitely had this look of interest towards Tlalamba. And I think I would love if that happens. And when females come into estrus, they tend to wander quite a bit. So she might just wander maybe towards Arathusa for a brief period, mate with Hosanna, come back here, den in the Mulwati. Sounds like a wonderful story, doesn't it? Hope it works out like that. Zan, I almost got your question. I know it was about panting, but that is all I managed to get. I'm sure our lovely director Gwen will help me out here. Is panting an automatic response of the body in cats? Panting is an automatic response in any animal, particularly mammals, because of the way that our respiratory system works. All panting is doing, firstly, what panting is signaling is that you have expended the oxygen in your body, or you're using up oxygen in your body quicker than you do at rest. So you need to get more oxygen to your body quicker in order for you to do whatever activity it is. And also to recover from whatever activity you have been doing. So it's not just for cats, it's for anybody, any human that is, and for any mammal. Every time you take a breath, more oxygen, or your blood is getting more oxygenated because you're getting more oxygen into your body. Oh, that's my favorite Tlalamba face. That's the face she uses when I say really great jokes, because my jokes are so great. She's such an awesome audience. She really is. Look at her pluck, pluck, pluck. the fur in the wind kind of looks a little bit like dandelions. The seeds of the dandelions kind of just romantically floating through the wind. I'm going to challenge Theo to try and catch it for us. The fur that's kind of raining down. He's giving me a look that says, "You want me to do what?" Look at it, it's catching the sunlight, Theo. He's shaking his head. I think he doesn't find it as romantic as I do. Well, there's definitely a storm coming. He just got some on himself. I'm sorry. I'm also sorry I laughed at you. One of the lesser known things, I guess, about sitting with a leopard that is cleaning its carcass. You could get some fur on you. You'd like to know how good a leopard's sense of smell is? The only appropriate answer there is pretty good. If I had to, so I've spoken to you about this before, and that predators have very sharp senses. All their senses are pretty sharp, but one may dominate one particular sense. Like I said, with wild dogs, the ears are very large. They're social, they need to communicate, they do that with sound, and that would have likely created in a situation where larger ears and better hearing was best suited to their lifestyle. With cats, I think that their eyesight is the most kind of advanced adaptation that they have. They have excellent eyesight, but that's not to say that their sense of smell is bad. They have excellent sense of smell too, because a predator needs to use all those senses in order to catch a prey item. And you think about prey species, a similar thing, but you'll find that sometimes a particular sense will be neglected. You don't see that as much in predators. For example, rhinos have bad eyesight, but very good sense of smell. Notoriously bad eyesight. I'm not saying just like, oh, my bad eyesight. Notoriously bad eyesight, but great sense of smell. They prioritize whatever it is in their environment that is going to help them survive. Whereas with a predator, they need to have great senses all round, with maybe one or two standing out. So if I had to compare a leopard's sense of smell to other predators, I'd say it would be the same as other cats. And the only one the only predator that I would say outright would have a better sense of smell than a leopard or any of the other predators would be a hyena. And you can see that. You can see the hyena has a very broad, big nose, very large nostrils. The wild dogs, you see the large ears prioritizing hearing, hyenas prioritizing smell. Cats, pupils that can dilate 130-fold from its smallest dilation. You can see where the adaptations have, or where evolution has taken full advantage, or rather not evolution, the adaptation has really kind of prioritized or become very specialized. It just takes looking a little bit deeper.
Right, guys, so it seems like there's going to be a little bit of action happening soon with our mating pair. Let's hope they don't hide behind the bush again now. But as you can see, the male is very much in the mood for doing all of these things. There we go. So by the looks of it, this is the beginning part of the mating ritual. They are still looking in relatively good condition, so what I'm thinking is they might have met up maybe this morning or last night and started mating then. But that's now going to continue for another maybe 4 days of them mating once every, they say once every 15 minutes. These guys are taking slightly longer. But as you can see, there's this other male just staring at them in the distance, quite jealous. Hopefully, he'll go over soon and try and claim his right to the female as well. It would be awesome to see a little bit of a fight between them. But we'll have to see. Always special to see lions mating. It's not often that we get to do so, or that they allow you to do so. As you can imagine, it is quite an emotional time for them. So typically, the females and or the males are quite irritable at that time, so they can move off rather quickly, or they can just show you that they're not in the mood for you, and then we always respect that, so then we move away. So yeah, quite the privilege to be able to be part of this sighting and with them sharing it with us.
Okay, so I think I'm not sure. Obviously, you were with Mo this whole time, but I was having in-depth conversations with you all. Now I don't know what you missed out on. I hope that you missed out on the one bit at least. The last thing I was talking about was the different senses in the predators and how they have been specialized just a little bit for particular advantages. Because they're all predators, they're all after prey, but there needs to be something just a little bit different so they're not in complete competition. I think, oh, look at that jackalberry. Here are some impala that have come to watch. Kind of like a funeral, I wonder. I haven't seen it myself, but I know that leopards will jump from trees. I've seen leopards jump from trees, obviously, but not jump onto prey from trees. So I wonder if this would be the opportunity for Tlalamba to show me. Jeff, you'd like to know if leopards have a favorite tree for their kills? A favorite type of tree? Most definitely, or at least in my experience. They do have a favorite kind of tree. It should be a little bit broad. Any tree that does not have something that can hurt them. Thorns, spines, spikes, anything like that, they won't use. Obvious reasons. They tend to use tambortis seldom, although just east of this jackalberry there's a tamborti that I've seen found Tlalamba in. But because the trunk of the tamborti is so straight, it doesn't really allow you the opportunity to climb with ease. So they prefer a smooth, or rather unhindered trunk, no thorns and things like that, and one that allows them to, have footholds, stuff like that. And the tree that I see leopards most often in are marullas. Outright. They're just the perfect leopard tree. There, she's giving us the look again. I think it's the look of love. Now I have that song stuck in my head. The impala are definitely not giving looks of love. They're giving looks of complacency. Oh. There we go. The wind just blew in their direction from Tlalamba, and then bam, you heard that alarm call. They got the shock of their lives right then. Sue, you'd like to know if this lamb is enough, or will she hunt again? She will definitely hunt again. This will last her today. Tomorrow she'll be on the hunt again, if not tonight. She might be a little bit full for tonight though, but tomorrow morning, early morning, she'll be looking to hunt, but she'll be able to last the day. Tomorrow evening she will definitely be looking for a meal. Seriously. Sometimes I've seen her hunt and it's just not that serious. When she means business, she's very, very successful. Handsome chap. Sometimes it looks like they don't even have fur, like they just have really well moisturized skin. But they do have fur, everyone. sun is setting behind us. Very, very, very pretty. The most stunning light was falling on Tswalu, as you would have known, you were with us. It was falling on her. Look at that. I got a very spotty question again, but I'm sure I will get it repeated to me. Yongesha, you'd like to know if leopards have night vision. Leopards can see very well in the dark. Much better than us. Much better than any of the herbivores. They have a special layer of cells in the back of their eye called the tapetum lucidum. And that collection of crystals reflects light. So light comes into your eye, and your rods and cones collect that information and produce an image. That happens once. If you have a tapetum lucidum, like a cat does, your brain gets a second chance to absorb that light information and to create an image. And that means that they have a very good vision at night. I don't like to call it night vision because that suggests that, to me, it feels like they switch something on. Hello, Jude. I guess in essence they do switch, but it's not like, like a light switch. But they move from using cones in their eyes, those are things that perceive color. They move from using some of that and the rods to using just the rods. The rods are things that perceive light. So they won't have great color vision at night, but they have good kind of grayscale vision. That goes for most predators, including June down here. She also has good vision at night. Yes, we're talking about you. Your floppy ear makes you very cute, I must say, despite the bad reputation you've gotten recently. But we won't talk about that. Hi. I haven't seen you in a long time. It's been a while. Well, I'm enjoying this sighting very, very much. And I'm glad to have you all with me while we can all enjoy it together.
Okay guys, so as you can see, that male is quite flat at the moment. The female's still laying up a tiny bit. But as you can imagine, when you are a lion and you go through this mating process, it takes a lot of energy out of you. Mating for, once every between 15 and 20 minutes for 4 days long. Not eating necessarily, only drinking water every now and again. You can imagine how tired they are afterwards. So typically, after a mating session like this, the dominant male in a coalition will lose his throne to one of the other coalition members for a short period until he's gathered his strengths again. So that might be what this guy that we've been spending some time with sleeping on the dam wall is waiting for that oak to lose a little bit of condition, and then he's going to take over and be the dominant male. Just coming back to what I mentioned earlier about the female, when we were with them close by, earlier when we didn't have signal, we could see that she still has those little brown dots on her belly. Now, typically speaking, guys, that is something that the cubs have when they're little, and it only disappears around the age of maybe 3.5, 4 years. So still relatively young as far as a female is concerned. I'm hoping that she's coming to the water now. She can lead that male wherever she wants to at the moment, and he's going to follow. But yeah, so a very young female. I hear them mating again. They're just behind the bush, unfortunately. So that could also be why she's so jumpy with the male currently, because it might be her first time or only her second time mating, and she's a little inexperienced when it comes to that. But this guy has now, by the looks of it, completely lost interest in whatever's going on behind the bush over there. Flat, flat, flat. But now again, guys, and I know I've been hammering on this quite a bit in previous episodes and so on. Have a look at how big that paw is. Now you can properly see it with him lying with his foot up. I mean, that is just huge. Imagine the power that comes out of a slap from a lion. It must be incredible. I don't even know if we'll feel it. We would just be passed out or dead instantly if they had to do that with us. Luckily, these lions don't go around slapping people that often, so we'll be fine. But yeah, just to give you an idea of the size of those snowshoe-like paws so that they can move through the sand, it's just incredible. And have a look also when you go a little bit down the body here at the hind legs, just above the what we would think is the heel of the hind foot and the front foot there, or basically the elbow actually. You can see there's that little bit of a black coloration coming through, especially on the elbow, but then on the hind legs as well. We'll go over to that now. As soon as you get that almost a black look to it, see there, you know that this lion is in excellent condition. That's the first thing that fades when they are a little thin. That blackish shine of the hair on the legs. You see it a little bit on the tail attaches as well, but he's lying now in such a way that we won't be able to see that. But now you can see it properly on the hind legs. Definitely a male as well. But yeah, typically when you're looking at the condition of a lion, you look at, well, first of all, the belly. If you don't see ribs, you know it's in a relatively good condition. But then also, when they are in their prime condition, that blackish, almost like a shine, comes from the skin on the legs. And I think this guy is going to remain looking like this for a bit. As soon as the sun maybe dips behind that mountain there at the back, we might have him getting a little bit more active and, moving around. So we just had a question from Minamu. What age do lionesses start going into estrus? Now, typically, it's just like humans. We have different individuals developing in different ways or different stages of development. So sometimes you'll find female lions going into estrus already at 2.5 years. But I'd say that the average is around 3.5 to, if they're late, 4 years of age. But let's say a good time for a female to go into estrus is normally around 3.5 years. Then her body is completely developed, already fully grown, well, to a certain extent. And she is ready to have cubs, so that's when she'll start going into estrus typically. But like I said, guys, just like we are, some guys develop a little earlier, some guys take a long time to develop. It's all up to the individual and the genetics. There's a little bit of a stretch. But so yeah, for this female to be mating now, it's the perfect time for her to start doing so. Having her cubs maybe in early next year, when there's a lot of babies in the bush as far as eland and oryx and kudu and those types of things are concerned, it would be a perfect time for her to have to spend some time alone when she's raising the cubs at that critical early stage, and easy hunting going, and with her then being by herself, she would also not need to take down things like adult eland and so on. She can focus on the younger individuals, because she only needs to feed herself and make sure that she has enough resources or reserves to provide milk for her little ones at that time. So let's hope she does fall pregnant, because it doesn't always happen the first go or the second go or so. But let's hope she does, and then we'll have more little baby lions in Tswalu not too long from now. Luckily, the waiting process isn't that long when it comes to lions. It's not like elephants where you have to almost wait 2 years before the little one is born. It happens relatively quickly. Oh, but this guy is just out for the count. If he wasn't breathing, we would think there's something wrong with him. We just had a question from Fraser. Would a coalition split due to mating? Fraser, I've seen this before, not with my own two eyes out in the bush, but I've seen it on a documentary. There's a documentary called Brothers in Blood, Lions of Sobi Sands. It was 6 male lions that was operating together. I think it was 5. Yeah, it was 6. And they were relentless. I mean, they almost were in the prime of their reign, they dominated close to the entire Sobi Sands. And their coalition ended up splitting, actually, because they had competition between one of the younger individuals and then the most dominant male. And the younger individual didn't like that. They called him Mr. T because he had a rather small mane. And the big one was called Makulu. So they ended up splitting the coalition into a coalition of 4 and a coalition of 2. And then each coalition after that had their own, territory with their own females in those territories. So it is possible, absolutely. However, highly unlikely that it would happen, because when males form that coalition, they form it because they know that this is going to be the best for their future. They will be able to take over a territory at a much younger age and then also defend it for much longer than being by themselves. So it's not something that happens often, but I can't say that it doesn't happen, because I do know of at least one instance where it happened before. So yeah, it can, however, highly unlikely that it would. Most of the time you also find that coalition members are related to one another, whether they are from the same litter, meaning brothers, or from different litters from the same pride. So sharing a father, or maybe being half brothers or something like that. They don't necessarily mind having one of the other males mating with the female. Obviously, they are driven to pass on their own genetics, but they won't go out and necessarily kill the cubs of one of their coalition members that they had with another female because of it not being their own particular little ones. So even though they stick together, they will tolerate the other males in the coalition's cubs, because they know there's a little bit of dreaming going. They will tolerate the other coalition members' cubs because they know they share most of the same genetics. Shame that guy is chasing something now. Either an eland or maybe busy flirting with a female. But it's all in his dreams. very cute. You know, you wouldn't necessarily think that a big male lion like this can be cute, but when they're flat on the ground, busy sleeping like a rock, and they start dreaming like that, they do pull it off. It would be amazing to know what goes on in their head. One day when we get those helmets that tell us what animals think, I think we are going to have our eyes opened quite widely as to what we think they are doing right now and what we would know then. But anyway. I'm just loving the light is starting to get so cool. Have a look at how that mane is starting to glow in the late afternoon sun. Almost have like there's the other male and female now mating again. I can just hear some growls, but I can't see them at the moment. But they're just getting that golden shine to it. The mane now. Yeah, guys, unfortunately, like I said earlier, we are in a very signal sensitive spot, so even though we know they're mating behind that bush that David just put on screen now, we can't just start the vehicle and drive around. We're going to lose you then. It just amazes me that this guy is so relaxed with the fact that they are doing what he would want to be doing right now. Lazy, lazy, lazy. And I think, you know, with us having, well, mostly seeing a lion doing this, which he's doing right now, it gives us the perspective of lions being quite lazy. However, they are quite active when they do move.
Kalamba is playing all over this tree now. She's gotten a little higher, which is lovely, but we're losing some light. It's such a pleasure and privilege to watch her play. Oh, to watch her play like this. Speaking about the senses of the different predators, and you can look at her eyes now, look at how her pupils have dilated, and she can dilate them a lot more than that. Very much more. Obviously, the more she dilates the pupils, the more light she can enter her eye. Much like your camera. You change the aperture, and more light can enter, or less light can enter. This is a really nice way to spend the evening. Copy Bran, you'd like to know if the leopard gene pool would be smaller than that of the lion gene pool. I think that's what I heard. I don't know. I wouldn't know. But historically, the range of the leopard, not even historically, presently, the range of the leopard is greater than the range of the lion. And though historically the range of the lion used to also be wider than it is now, but the leopard has been very, very good at adapting to different environments therefore being in lots of different places in the world, or at least at some point in geological history. So if I had to guess, I would say that the leopard gene pool is larger than that of the lions. But I can't say that I know for sure. All of the impala have moved away now. They will need to seek shelter in the form of an open space where they can hear and see for a distance, where all the herds can congregate, not just them but other herbivores too, and find safety. Because this girl and her likes will be prowling the night looking for a meal. And with all those little lambs around, they'll be getting quite a few meals, and those lambs are so vulnerable. Easy pickings for the predators, but they can only eat so much at a time, and having a surplus of those lambs around actually increases the survival for a certain percentage of them. If they had been dropped through the year, then the predators could space out their meals, put it that way. So then it's easier for more lambs to be taken and eaten. If they're all there at the same time, one can only eat so much. It's one of the strategies that James taught me about when I first started. I think he said it was one of his favorite strategies. Because, you ought to have a favorite strategy out here in the bush. She's so cat-like. So almost fairy tale-y cat-like. Sam, you'd like to know if she'll lose her playfulness as she gets older? It's likely. But that's the type of thing that, some dogs are 10 years old and they're still as playful as they were when they're puppies. It's a kind of a personality thing. Maybe she will, maybe she won't. Kuchava is quite playful, especially when she plays with her cub. She's quite playful, even though she's 6 years old. So I think it's really subjective and depends very much on the individual animal. That's actually one of the reasons I'd really love to see Hosana now that he's this big, mature, mating leopard, and see if he still retained much of that playfulness that he was full of. The way that Tlalamba behaves often reminds me of Hosana. On this road was the first time that I realized and that my eyes had been feasting on 3 leopards in one go, because as far as I read, that doesn't happen, that's not normal. And I had Jackalberry on this road, Jackalberry just a little bit north of here, Tingana in the tree with a kill, Hosana at the base of the tree lounging around, and Thandi casually strolling through. Not relaxed though, just walking. It really was a feast for the eyes. No, she's hiding from me. Is it because I'm talking about your family members? It was such a special thing to see all of that. See them all together. right, Lion. I'm just going to reposition very quickly before I answer your question. You want to know if a warthog is the animal that is most likely to cause some sort of injury to a leopard in terms of prey species. Yeah, I think that would be a good guess. Warthogs are really not the animal to be underestimated. They're large. They're almost tank-like because in that small body, you can pack almost 90 kgs into this small body. It's like a little barrel that's just been stuffed, and that thing comes hurtling towards you. Broken legs for sure. And that, apart from being stocky and large, they also have tusks. Not just the tusks that you can see, the exposed ones, but the sharp ones, which they come up against and are constantly sharpened in the lower jaw. Those are the really nasty ones, and warthogs are definitely the type of prey that you can get hurt from, and proper injuries, really, really bad injuries. I'm sure warthog is it. Apart from that, the horns of many antelope can cause similar injuries. But you look at leopards, they go for the neck, and there's a certain avoidance that they have for the horns. When you look at a warthog, and the shape of a warthog is completely different to the shape of an antelope, and it's not safe to kill it in the same way as you would an antelope, so they've got to readjust. I think warthog is a good option for the most dangerous prey they can take down. Dev, you want to know what the major differences between a leopard and a panther are? So, this is going to sound strange. A panther, like Bagheera and the Jungle Book, is a leopard. It's just the leopard in Asia, where they call it, or more likely to call it, a panther. The same thing goes for a jaguar. I've sometimes heard jaguars being called panthers, but jaguars are different to leopards. The majority of the time you hear the word panther, it's actually somebody referring to a leopard in Asia. I recently watched Jungle Book, but the Russian Jungle Book, where Bagheera is a female. And she reminds me so much of Tlalamba. When I saw it, I just thought immediately, oh, the way that she moves, and there's something so strong and kind of smart, but still very catty and slinking around. I think very much like our Tlalamba, very sophisticated. Now we see only a bottom. I'm just going to grab that question from you again. Oh, something fell. Here comes June. Strav, I think it was that. You'd like to know how do I tell which leopard is with me? I tell that from a couple things. If I just summarize it, it would be territories. I know which leopards are in which areas. It would be male or female, knowing the sex of the leopard, knowing the spot pattern of the leopard. Tlalamba, 5'5", I know that. And then finally, there's other little spots that you may recognize along the body. Like for Tlalamba, she has this, it looks like a bit of a pine cone that I see with a little triangle, upside down triangle underneath it. But those are just things that you latch onto and you happen to see. And then also on the side of her head, she has this kind of flower, like a lily. But it's kind of like clouds, you make up a pattern that you see in the clouds and not everyone else can see them. So from those patterns, you can recognize which leopard you have. And the same goes for this hyena. Being able to recognize June, she has what looks like the word juice written on her side, but also with her floppy ear, it's very easy to see her, but she didn't always have that floppy ear. And obviously, the more time you spend with the animals, the more acquainted you get with their subtleties, shape of the body, the movement as they walk. Like Hukumuri, you can know Hukumuri from the back, just from the way that he walks and his stature. Kind of like when you meet people, you start to recognize the way they move and all these other subtle features. But it takes a lot of time and a bit of study. But I found that just spending time with them is the best way to figure that out. Sometimes I still get mixed up, especially if it's someone you don't expect to see, or you didn't look correctly at something, or you make an assumption about something, then you can make a mistake. But if you get a clear look at the face, we should get it right 90% of the time. Just leaving a gap, because I'm a scientist, there should always be a gap for human error. It's getting quite dark now. Yogesha, you'd like to know what the secret weapon for a leopard is. A piece of the jackalberry had leaves just come and fallen next to me. And June looked at me as if, you're pretty close. Is that a piece of flesh, or is that a piece of the jackalberry? I don't know. She gave me this very cute look, which is why I laughed. Sorry, Yogesha. You'd like to know what the secret weapon of a leopard is. Stealth. 100%. That is my answer. It is stealth. You will never hear a leopard walking through the bush. You'll never hear footsteps. Nothing. When there's a hyena walking through the bush, you can hear it coming. Lions, you can hear them coming because they're in a large number. But a leopard, they'll just slink through the bush. Really, really unhurt. You will never, ever hear them. If they don't want to be seen, they won't be seen. And if they don't want to be heard, they won't be heard. Well, we've completely lost our view of Tlalamba now because of the shadows and the darkness that is in the center of the tree. So for now, all we can view is June here, whose nipples are very large, but whose belly is slightly smaller than the last time I had seen her. Given the last time I did see her was a while ago, maybe. 2 months ago. She was near Gwen's Den on Cheetah Cutline, and I suspected then that she might be pregnant. Maybe it's worth a check, although I have checked that den since I've been back numerous times, numerous stints since then, and I have not seen anything. But I think she might have some cubs. Speaking of things that I've seen, I know I haven't gotten a chance to do a segment with our Olivia, the spotted eagle owl little chickie, but I have seen her, and she's absolutely stunning. I'm so glad to have had the opportunity, because I remember when James and I came for our last stint, about a day after that, it was about the 25th or something, the day after that we went out and we saw her for the first time, the mum sitting on the egg. And it was such a nice process to watch that, and now he is born, and it's really, really, really cute. Hopefully tomorrow morning I'll get the opportunity to go down there and have a chat with you and our Olivia. Charles, you'd like to know, do we experience humid or dry heat here? Very humid. Not as humid as the East Coast, but not as dry as Johannesburg. So something in between. I find it humid when I come here, but very tolerable. But that's because I was born in a place where it's extremely humid. And when I go to Johannesburg, I find that my nose dries up quite a bit and my skin dries up, and it's very dry for me. But if you ask anyone who's from any other part of South Africa except the East Coast, they will tell you it's very humid up here. It's kind of thick, the air gets really dense. It can be sometimes quite difficult to breathe. Well, I believe the sighting has run its course for now, just because we can barely see anything, and we're definitely not going to use a spotlight. So, what do you say we move off? And you know that we can always chat while we drive as well. I miss that. I like that. So let's say goodbye, June. Goodbye, Kalamba. I hope that you'll be here in the morning. I was waving on behalf of all of you. Okay, now we're going to have some fun. Not that we weren't having fun. So, big news. My spotlight isn't working. And Spotlight Steve isn't here to report it to. So we're going to have to be innovative in our quest for the you-know-what. The chameleon. Ooh, Theo. There was a free-tailed bat that just flew overhead. Theo just didn't even, he just looked at me like, please don't. Okay, I'm gonna try and look for a chameleon for us to end the night with. Wouldn't it be awesome? I think it would be very, very awesome. So I'm gonna do that with just my car lights, and hopefully I'll be successful.
Okay guys, so just an update on those lines. Unfortunately they did move, so because of us being in a bad signal area over there, we tried to reposition and there was unfortunately nothing that we can do to show you guys anything more on them. So we've decided to start moving on, trying to see if we can't, remember we had the Southern Pride on the 2 zebra kills yesterday afternoon, so I feel like they are going to want to get some water soon. So we've just gone past the one waterhole, trying to see if we can't get to the other one and see if they're possibly starting to, well, either there or starting to move in that direction. So that is what our plan is for now, but I mean, just having that sunset is already quite incredible. Yeah, you know, that's sometimes the frustrations of the bush. There's a beautiful couple of male impalas here. That's something that we don't often see here on Tswalu. You know, with them, they're not as well adapted to the harsh conditions that we have here. Now they're running away from us. There you can see them a little bit. Beautiful bachelor herd. And as you can see, not too happy about the vehicle being close by. Could be that they've picked up on a funny smell or so, and now that anything that's close to them or gets close to them is a possible threat. But yeah, like I said earlier, not as well adapted to the harsh environments that we have around here. They do prefer a bit more bushy areas, a bit more mountainy areas, which is why it's, you know, probably the best spot for them to be around here. However, you know, things like springbok do a lot better in the Kalahari than the impalas. He is seeing something though. Quite focused on whatever's going on. So Yogeshwar just had a question on at what age do the horns grow on impalas, or with impalas. You know, typically speaking, it starts growing almost immediately after they get born. So they will be born without horns. If you feel on their heads, they might have these little knobbies, which you can feel after birth. But typically speaking, you'll find them starting to develop little horn-like, you know, protrusions already, maybe about 3 weeks after they were born, because they're definitely seeing something or picking up on something. I'm not sure what, but I feel like we should probably, I'm just going to start the vehicle reverse and turn around to see what they are shouting at. It seems like we might have, either they're just paranoid or we might have just stumbled onto something which we don't know what it is yet. So let's just see. But yeah, to answer your question, immediately after birth, the horns will start growing. However, it will only become apparent from around 3 weeks of age, when you start seeing those little knobs coming out of their skull. I'm trying hard to see what these guys are seeing, but you know, with them, they're so acute when it comes to their senses, and they are, I mean, obviously they know what to look for and to listen for in the bush a lot more than we do. Otherwise they wouldn't survive, but I'm not seeing what they are seeing. I do feel like they might have just been a tad dramatic at the moment, just giving us a show maybe. But always exciting to have Impala's alarm calling. You know, every guide's blood starts pumping when you hear Impala's calling, because typically speaking, when they call, there's a lion or a leopard or something like that in close proximity to where you are, or to where they are at least. But I'm not seeing anything. No, and they've also stopped calling now, so I don't think it's too important. Sometimes you'll find them doing that if they saw like a funny shape or funny movement. It might have just been another impala. You'll find them calling like that just to test the reaction, because typically speaking, if you do have, let's say, a leopard approaching, and they spot it, and they start alarm calling like that. You find the leopard popping his head up. So they might have just been hoping to see what it was, but now, like I said, I'm not seeing anything interesting. Well, there's a lot of interesting things, but not anything that might be dangerous to these impalas. Oh, I just love those mountains there at the back. Have a look at how beautiful they're illuminated at the moment. You know, just the sun is just starting to sink away behind the mountains. And it's always just stunning having that almost a reddish shine to the backdrop of the eastern side of the reserve when the sun is setting in the west. Beautiful, beautiful, and always also special having, you know, there's quite a lot of texture to the Koranenberg Mountains that we have around here. So they always make some great, great photos. Oh, just beautiful. We live in a beautiful world. But yeah, guys, like I said earlier, before the impalas jumped out of the bush, we are heading to, there's a waterhole just over the hill over here. We're going to have a look at that, see if there's maybe the lions coming in over there after they finish their meal. If not, we'll start heading slowly towards where we left them yesterday afternoon. We did come in through that side of the reserve this morning, or this afternoon when we started drive. However, we didn't see any tracks at that point, but they could have just been lazy, you know, during the heat of the day in the shade of a bush somewhere, and we didn't see them. So very possible that that could be the case. However, I am hoping that now, with it being slightly cooler, they would start moving and give us one final show before it gets too dark. But yeah, so when we get to the waterhole and there is something to show you guys, we're going to come back to you. For the meantime, we're going to send you somewhere else.
So, as you can probably tell, my quest for chameleon using only my vehicle lights has not been successful. I'm still looking hard though. Hello, water thickney. Ta-da! No chameleon though. And so I'm going to wait until the very last seconds before I say goodbye to you, so that we can spend the next 40 seconds feverishly looking for a friend. 30 seconds, okay. Believe it or not, it is easy to see them, even if you're driving at this pace, but without a spotlight, not ideal. And it's time to say goodbye. At least we tried. I'll see you all in the morning, and thank you for your questions and your comments. We'll see you for Sunrise Safari. Bye for now.